Hey, ladies, welcome to another episode of the Revitalized Womanhood podcast. I'm so excited to introduce you to my guest today, Brittni Cosgrove. We are going to be talking all things self-mastery. Brittni, hi.
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Yes, of course. So talk to me, actually, introduce yourself to my listeners first, and we will dive right in because this is like one of my favorite topics.
I am so excited. Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany. I am a transformational life and business coach, and I work with people all around the world, helping them become their most magnetic, authentic, aligned version of themselves so that you can live life on your terms, building a life that's for you, by you, exactly how you want it.
How did you get into doing this? What was it that was like, yep, this is my purpose?
It's kind of wild. So it was during 2020, just like the rest
Of
of the
course.
world when it shut down, my entire life came to a stop. And this was the first time in my waking memory that I actually had time to hit pause on my life. And I started asking questions about, where am I going? What do I want? I have been career oriented my entire life, like since I was little. But I had all this momentum and all this motivation, and I was so burnt out because it was just getting abused in workplace after workplace. And when life came to a stop like that, and I was able to reflect, I was really able to understand and see just how unhappy I was. And yet I still had such a drive. And so that was the year that I started my first online business. And while that business itself wasn't the end all be all, I was able to really fall in love with entrepreneurship and the journey of that. And really, what does it mean to be your own boss? What does it mean to be able to create for me? All of that magic. And it was at the end of that year, I was listening to a podcast for business owners when I heard a life coach speaking on it. And this was my first introduction to the coaching world, self-development world. And despite the biases I had against the industry leading up to listening to that podcast, everything she was saying was about getting to the root and transforming things there in order to create lasting and sustainable change. And it just felt so real and authentic. And I was so drawn to that. It ended up being a woman that founded the coaching institute that I trained through. So the following year, I ended up in this year-long certification program. And it was one of those things where from the moment I started diving into that work, I knew to my core that this is one of the reasons why I'm here. I do not believe that purpose and career are connected for everyone by any means, but I've known it for myself for a long time. And that was just the biggest confirmation where I knew full body chills of the work that I was doing. It was a very inner outer approach. So I learned how to coach by coaching myself, coaching peers, being coached on by peers. It was extremely transformational. It was the most life-changing year of my entire life. And the types of change that I was experiencing, like healing my anxiety, healing inner child, really taking a look at so many different ways I was holding myself back and self-sabotaging. It was just so eye-opening. It was the most profound and awakening year ever. And I was continuously just connecting more and more with my true authentic self. And from that, everything just continued to fall into place. Wasn't always easy, but every single step has been worth it.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on that a little bit because you've been open in with your battle of severe anxiety and perfectionism earlier in your life. How did those experiences shape your approach to self-mastery and authenticity?
It's still something that shows up because the perfectionist in me wants everything to be perfect, including
Right.
getting there in the healing journey. So there's been, I started struggling with severe anxiety and perfectionism like when I was in kindergarten, and it completely was how I lived my life, but I masked it from the world. It was mental health wasn't really accepted in the family structure growing up, and so it was something that I hid away, which definitely perpetuated a lot of that as well. And when I got to this point in my life where I started diving into healing it and turning within and just the self-development journey, even to this day, there's times where I will catch myself trying to heal perfectly or coach around the emotion
Yeah.
instead of actually experiencing the emotion. Like I work with multiple of my own coaches for exactly that, so that my coach brain is not bypassing or anything. But really, the biggest thing that the perfectionist has had to come to terms with is that there is no done in this journey. There's no getting there. There's no end. Like it's just a journey for as long as I want to walk the path. And that's
One of my
tricky.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Well, one of the ladies, actually, we were talking about this morning. We were having a Marco going back and forth talking about one of our members in my community. And she was talking about, I remember coming into this community thinking, I'm going to show up and be the best. I'm going to be the best at this. I'm going to do my best and I'm going to be the quickest and getting to where I'm supposed to be. And it's like, that's not the point. That's not the point. I don't think anybody really truly understands until you've been doing it for at least 5 or 6 months that then you start to finally see things where you've got change happening and you're like, "Oh, all of these aha moments finally start to like kind of line up." And it could be years. It could be years where you heard someone I heard someone on a podcast say something and I don't know, like a couple years later it had an effect on me when I was having my 4th or 3rd child, you know? It was like, "Oh, wait a minute. Some dots just connected, and I just had an aha moment." It's like people think we're in this, like, if I hurry and do this, it'll fix it. And it's like, well, first of all, is you're not broken, right? You're not broken. Let's get that out of your head first. If you're looking at this like it's a negative and it's a bad thing. That's just your belief that you have around it. Let's get away from that. And it's a thing. And this is the work we're going to do on it. But it's like goal setting. Yeah, you can say, I want to lose 20 pounds. Fine. That's a goal. Great. What is happening on the journey to losing the 20 pounds? That's where I want the focus to be. I want you being mindful about that. If you never get to the 20 pounds, like you could just lose 10, great, whatever. You may never get to the 20 pounds. You may get to the 20 pounds. But what happened in those weeks of trying to get to losing those 20 pounds? That's the point.
I love that because it's so true. How we do one thing is how we do all things. And when people are on their journey towards their goal, whatever that goal is, there's going to be things that kick up. There's going to be things that get triggered. There's plenty to work through along the way. And if you don't address it as you're going towards your goals, it's just going to show up in another area of life in another way. And it's so important to think of the journey that way. And I think too that we put so much expectation on the goal or the outcome to give us whatever we want. Like, oh, when I lose that weight, then I'll be confident. Then I'll feel happy. Then I'll start dating again. And there's always that, like, when I get there, then I'll live my life or
Yeah.
or look inward or
Yeah.
anything like that. When it really it's the opposite. If you start connecting with that energy and the emotions that you want to feel, that you think the getting the goal will give you, you can start accessing those feelings even before you get to the goal because you are not reliant on the goal to experience anything. And I think that when
What?
people, Mhm.
Sorry. Oh my gosh. I keep getting you right at the end of your thought. Go ahead. Dave.
Now I'm curious what your question is.
Oh my heck. No. Well, what it makes me think about is when women specifically, we're going to talk about when women, I'm sure men do this as well, but when women, like I said, show up thinking I'm going to be the best at this or I'm going to show everybody how good I can be at this or whatever, and then they quit or say, I'll be back. So in my community, I get that a lot. It's like, I'll come back when life's not so hectic. Life's not so busy. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? When is life not busy? When is life not hectic? When is why do you think that your struggle is unique? Because it's not. Like all of this list of reasons why you can't put back into yourself and invest in yourself and believe in yourself and have a community support you in this growth journey. What in your struggle do you think is more valuable to make you stand out versus this person over here in their struggles. There's no comparison. You're not unique. We all have struggles. We all have things that we're going through. So okay, here's a question. I'm going to bring it to this. So we all have these beliefs in our minds, right? You talk about this a lot in self-mastery. All of these beliefs that I like to say beliefs are 1 + 1 = 14. They're not truths. That truth is 1 + 1 is 2. That's what everyone knows. Everyone knows truths. But beliefs to us are 1 + 1 = 14. So something that you have this story behind and whatever is like to someone else, it's not even that big of a deal, but it's like keeping you stuck. You are just paralyzed by this belief you've created. So what is your technique, or how do you help specifically women identify this place where they keep coming to, if maybe they can't see it themselves, and then work through it?
Yeah, this is exactly how the subconscious operates, which is one of my go-to tools, is to work with the subconscious. So most people don't realize, but the subconscious is primarily formed in our early childhood years. And it's exactly what you said. It's making meaning out of any information it can take, but it doesn't mean it's true. So the childhood eyes can see the 1 + 1, can hear someone, a parent, say that that equals 14, take it as their truth, despite it not being true. It's now their belief system. And then as we get older and in our adulthood, we are operating from those subconscious beliefs without even realizing it, without even seeing how it's playing out in our relationships, in our careers, business, families, etc. So the first thing is seeing it, always bringing awareness to how the pattern is playing out. And so for someone that constantly has excuses on the back burner, there's always a reason why it's not the right time. That right there is a pattern. So you can look at that and be like, okay, is this true? Start poking holes on it and start just looking at it with a new sense of new perspective. Once you realize that it's not true, you cannot prove in a court of law that you are always too busy for your goal. At that point, we see the pattern. So now it's like, what's underneath the pattern? Why is this pattern playing out? I'm a believer that if there is something within us, it's a part of us. And so I take a compassionate and acceptance-based approach with my work. So that block that is perpetuating excuses and trying to push off doing the work to get to the goal, what does that block want for you? How is it trying to serve you? How is it trying to help you? And this can feel really counterintuitive because a lot of people are like, no, it's not helping me. It's holding me back. It's in the way, but it's not in the way. It is the way. And so if we can just slow down and tune in and just with genuine openness and curiosity, asking yourself, how is this pattern trying to help me? It's going to come up with one of a handful of those universal core wounds and core fears that is really at the root of it all. Usually it's going to be something like protecting you from judgment, making sure that you're accepted and not excommunicated. It could be that fear of failure. There's a handful of those core things that people find holding themselves back. And it plays out in every area of life until they're able to look at it.
So I've heard you talk about your move cross country. How has that impacted your self-mastery journey, your journey in figuring out your authentic self?
That is an amazing question. And it ties into my work with my nonprofit, or this nonprofit called Travel Through Trauma, because it's all about holding yourself through the craziness of life. When I drove across the country, it was something where I have to be okay being uncomfortable. And I have to be okay that there's unexpected things that will come up. And the part of the journey that I love is that lead up, knowing that I am confident that I can handle anything that comes up, that I'm capable of handling anything that comes up. That's what the self-mastery is. It's not about being able to control the external, but it's about becoming a pillar in a storm so that life can be crazy, but I know I've got me no matter what. And that was completely how it showed up in that travel. It was so much fun. It was challenging. It was the whole a huge representation of just like what life is. I got to see so much, experience so much, and along the way, holding space for myself, working, holding space for clients, like it was, but it was also this representation of what I've been able to make my life. I love being able to work while I'm on the road. Like that is so special. And so it was a huge win for me seeing the work and how embodied it is as I was going through that.
Well, I think travel is one of the biggest ways of self-reflection, of figuring out true self, because you are put in so many situations that you can't possibly plan for, right? Tons of situations that you just kind of have to like, Jesus, take the wheel, and here we go. And what you just explained is my definition of the difference between confidence and self-confidence. Confidence, you can have confidence in something which is external. It's, I know something so well, I can teach you how to change a tire. That's confidence. I could stand up and tell everyone, this is how you change a tire. But self-confidence is the thing that when you're up against your comfort zone, you're outside of it, you're up against these challenges, it's knowing that you have the resilience, you have the ability to figure this out and get to the other side of it. That's the difference for me. So I love that.
So good.
So your coaching emphasizes on aligning with your core values. And for someone feeling lost, where do you recommend they start when trying to reconnect with what truly matters to them?
Ooh. Start by identifying what are your core values. And we all have a lot of values. So when I say core values, I'm talking about those top 3 to 5 values that you will not, cannot live without. The ones that are the most important to you. So find those values, but also define them on your terms. So just like how you do not have like confidence, if that is your value, it's not just the confidence that you see in the dictionary. It's like you have your unique spin on what it means to you. So all of those core values, define them of how and what that means to you. And then from there, look at the different areas of life and maybe just do like a little rating scale of 1 to 10. How much is each value showing up in each area of life? And this is something that we do without judgment. We're just looking. We're looking for evidence. We're looking for feedback. We're just observing where we're at, where we're starting. That's also going to show you what areas of life are missing which core values. And then from there, what is something like just opening your mind and being creative? What is something you can do right now, something you can do today to infuse just a little bit more of one value into an area of life that it's lacking in? Don't go crazy. We're not going to try to fix everything all at once, but just choose an area of life, choose one core value that's not showing up there, and just look, how can I infuse more of this value in this area of life? There's
Yeah, I
going to be
love
something
life
you can
wheels
do.
for that. I love life wheels
Exactly.
for that. I love it because, like, for us, our foundation in our community, the Revitalized Sisterhood, is 90-day goal setting. So, and that's great. However, when you're looking at it, it's like, that's daunting. That can be really daunting. It's like, where do I even begin? Where I have so many things I want to fix. I have so many things I want to work on. I have so many things. It's like, okay, work backwards. But I think my number one favorite thing to tell someone when they're feeling like that, when they feel like they're spinning, it's like, imagine you're the person at the circus spinning plates on your fingers, on your toes, on your knees, on your nose. You've got all these plates spinning. And it's like, they're all spinning at different rates of speed. Which one do you need to spin next? Which one is slowing down first? And that's exactly what a life wheel does. And I think it's so beautiful how the work kind of flows into the next thing, like the tools in our tool belt, right? Like mindset and boundaries and those kinds of tools that we want to flex the muscles and work more often. It's like, okay, now I've figured out the spinning, which one needs to happen next. Well, that means that this value of family needs to come more often. all right, well, what am I putting in the place of that? Which plate am I spinning before that? Oh, it's doing a podcast, or it's me having lunch with a girlfriend, or it's running my kids to all of these different things. It's which ones are you putting in place of that? So if you can eliminate those and create better boundaries, you will then be more um, putting more into your actual values, the ones that actually need the spinning work. It's so crazy how they all connect. And if you start to focus on the one thing, you'll just naturally start to benefit in those other areas, right?
Absolutely. That reminds me of something. I want to say Mel Robbins has this story, but I could be wrong about that. But it's this idea similar to like the plates. Like we all are juggling a bunch of balls, but in life, there's some that are the glass balls, and then there's some that are rubber balls. And it's knowing which ones are glass and which ones are rubber, which ones can you drop, and which ones do you need to make sure you catch. Because I think, life does get busy. And there are moms listening. There are business owners listening. There are just people who have multiple jobs and there's just so much going on. And that's fair. And part of our responsibility is to kind of have eyes on everything that we're juggling, but just with the awareness of it. And then, like you said, just trusting that we know what to do. We have the tools, we have the resources. We are capable of spinning the plate how it needs to be spun, of catching the balls that need to be caught. And if you can build that trust in yourself, like that's where the self-mastery comes in. Knowing, okay, I got a lot going on, but I know I can handle it all.
Do you know what's interesting in that is one step further, being able to identify which glass balls you are the reason that they're glass versus society is the reason that they're glass. It's like, why is this ball glass? Is this ball glass because you deemed it so, or because your mother-in-law deemed it for you, or because your husband deemed it for you? Why is this one glass? That's one step before this is, why is this one glass? Let's figure that out. Is it glass because you want it to be, or is it glass because someone else wants it to be? And if it's glass because someone else wants it to be, it needs to drop.
Yeah.
It'll become rubber.
Yeah. Or you hand it back to whoever needs it.
You hand it back to them. Yes.
I love that. And it's so true because it's an ever evolving conversation too. Where you are at now is not where you'll be in 5 years, 10 years. And so
100%.
it's so important to just keep checking in. Like I do, coming back to the wheel of life, I fill that out for myself a couple times a year just to check in. Because it's so easy to think like, oh no, I'm doing great in all these different things, or the vice versa, like nothing's going well in any area of life, everything's terrible. And it's like, okay, let's just slow it down. And instead of going with the generalizations, instead of hiding out in the vagueness, like let's get specific. How am I actually feeling about each of these things? And what is in my control of how I can show up in each area? What can I change today? Because sometimes it's easy, like coming back to the goals that we were talking about earlier, we put the expectation of change on the goal, but it's like, no, what can I do? That's disempowering to push it off onto the goals. Instead, be empowered, take ownership of what is within our control, and the rest will fall into place.
Have you ever read Dale Carnegie's Stop Worrying and Start Living?
I haven't.
It's incredible. It's really good. It's one of the like for all times books because it's so how he describes things. There's this one part where he talks about this man and he's I want to say, I'm going to totally butcher this because it's been a minute since I read it, but he's basically like working for the Nazis, but not, he's kind of found himself in a situation where if he does something wrong, he will be killed for it. And he figures out that he did something wrong. And he's like, crap, if I go to work tomorrow, I'm going to be killed. I'm going to be shot on the spot. So he starts thinking of all of these different ways that he can get out of it or like run from it. Or, okay, if I do this, they'll find me. If I do this, they'll kill my family. Or if I do this, right? He's just stressed out the entire night about all of these different what ifs could happen, these scenarios. And then he gets to work. He's like, I'm just going to face it. What am I going to do? Live in fear all my life? I'm just going to walk in there and face it. I did this and I may be murdered for it. So he walks in there and nobody even knows it happened. It's not one other person is thinking about it. He knows it happened. Not one other person knows it happened. And so he went through these scenarios of killing himself before they could do it for him. I mean, it was just this dramatic, and it just goes to show that like what is in front of you is quite literally the only thing that matters. And until you get through that, and that's with goal setting, it's like, what is in front of you? It doesn't matter what in 30 days it's going to look like. Because I think with life coaching and any kind of coaching really, but really comes back to financial coaching. Financial coaching is you have to track it. You have to. It's like 1 + 1 has to equal 2. The numbers can't lie. So people come into financial coaching and it's like, okay, how much do you spend in a month? Well, I spend $2,000, $3,000, whatever they say. Without fail, if you get the paper, if you get the proof in front of your face, it is at least double to what humans will say. It is so interesting. My husband is a financial coach, and it is so crazy that it is true. It's true. People will say at least half of what it actually is because they're not thinking about the trip to Starbucks. They're not thinking about the dinner they had the other night out. They're not thinking about the gifts they bought for someone a week ago. They're not thinking about those things. All they think about, all our minds think about is these big things for whatever reason. And so that's the same as in goals, goal setting or self-development is you have to track it. You have to start somewhere, identify where you're starting. And like with ours, it's not 4 times a year. It's more because we do 90-day goal setting. But at every 30 days, we track and see what our progress is in that goal. Because if you're not getting anywhere in 30 days, why would you continue to do it for another 60 days? That's like beating your head against a wall. So you have to be prioritizing, tracking it. You have to kind of think like a financial person, even though I don't think that way naturally. Do you think that way naturally? I think a pretty big generalization is that women don't think that way naturally, that we're just like, la, 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 la. I'm getting it done. And so it's happening, right? Like I'm doing the work. So something is going to happen. I'm going to have some progress on the other end of it. When really, unless you're tracking it, it's like not getting on a scale. I want to lose 20 pounds, but you're not getting on a scale for those 90 days. How do you know what you're doing is working? And then the 90 days come and you're like, I gained 3 pounds. What did I do wrong? It's like, well, you don't know because it's been 90 days and you have no idea where it could have gone another way or it didn't.
Yeah, it's so important to look at each and every step. It's so important. And then like we look at the feedback from all of it. Like if you gain a couple pounds, you can look and say like, oh, it's because I was not eating in calorie deficit. I wasn't going to the gym. Or maybe you were doing all the actions and you're in that weird phase where muscle is turning, being transformed from fat and the numbers show up differently because of that. Like it's so easy to hide in the vagueness because we're afraid of looking at specifics. I think this applies a lot with like finances, body image, like those, but really just any of the things where we need to look at the specifics. It's easier to hide in the generalness of vagueness. So it's like, look at that too. Why are you afraid of tracking every day? Like, what are you afraid would happen if you really go for it? What are you afraid would happen if you got that goal? And see what gets kicked up there too. Because if we know we're supposed to be doing something and we're not doing it, there's a reason for that. And it's not bad, but it is up to you to go find why is it playing out that way? Because exactly what you're saying, like if we're not tracking and if we're not looking at the results and if we're not seeing what's measurable and how it's playing out, then what are we doing? It's
I
definitely going to have
love,
energy leaks.
yeah. Oh, leaks. I love what you said about, oh my gosh, hang on. It'll come back. How am I bringing this in? It's gone. The question. Okay, I love the question you just asked about what does that goal look like for you? When you make it to that goal, what does that mean? Like, what does that even look like? So I designed a whole monthly topic around that question. It's one of my favorite questions to ask in my one-on-one coaching in our per session is, if all of this comes true, if what you've told me what you want to work on, and if all of these amazing things, these ideals come true, what does that look like for you? And it was so interesting to me that probably 75% or more, it was peace, freedom, ease. Like, if I can get all of these to line up in the way that ideally I would love them to line up, it means that I will feel ease and peace. I created a whole monthly topic around that because that's huge. If everybody feels that same way, they all have different goals. Every one of these women has completely different goals, different goals in every facet of life, right? But yet the end result for all of them was peace. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, you could not have planned this. And I'm just taking these notes as we go. And I'm just like looking over my shoulder, like, no way. Like, are you all seeing this? Nobody's here. It's just me. And I'm just like, is anybody else seeing this? This is amazing. We all want this same goal of peace in our lives and ease. And it's so interesting to me that, so I said to this one of them, I said, she's explaining this to me, and I go, you have the ability. I know your life. I know what you have going on. You have the tools right now to have that. And you're not doing it. I can see everywhere that you are resisting having that peace. You are capable. Some people aren't capable of having it yet. They're a ways away, right? This one woman, I'm like, you could have it. You have to give in to these other things where you're giving too much. And then you can have this goal. And she was like, oh my gosh, you make it sound so simple. And I'm like, because it is. You are overcomplicating it. Like, society has trained us, we have to overcomplicate everything. If you just slow down, quiet everything, like you said, when the world shut down, what a perfect time to be forced to reflect. It's kind of like when these women who are just constant people pleasers and have no boundaries and just say yes all the time. It's like, Kate, if you continue this way, God's going to figure out a way to sit you down. And it's going to come in the form of sickness, something. You're going to hit burnout. You're going to get the flu. You're going to be incapable of taking care of others because you are not listening to what you need first. And it's so interesting to me. So how in your business, how with your coaching, do you kind of help guide that realization? Like, it is up to you. It is up to me. It is up to any one individual person to identify what they want, but you have to be willing to do it, to get it.
Yeah, a lot of it is looking at the subconscious fears around the goal or subconscious fears and beliefs. So like coming back to the piece, like there are people that unconsciously are living out of the belief like, oh, I haven't earned it yet. I don't deserve it. Like peace, oh, because I don't have X, Y, and Z sorted out, like I need to have that taken care of before I can give myself peace. Like, it's so easy to skim past giving ourselves exactly what we are desiring and what we want. And there's nothing that you need to do or say or have or achieve to be worthy of having these feelings of peace, freedom, spaciousness, like all of that is part of being a human, no matter what's going on with life. And so when we can see what the belief around that deeper desire of the goal is, what are the beliefs around peace? What are the self-sabotaging ways that we're keeping ourselves from peace? Like you said, maybe it's the different activities that we have that are sucking out time or energy away, or maybe it's that every time life does start calming down, how often does this happen for anyone that's listening? Like life starts calming down and then wham, something else happens. Or you finally get to the savings amount that you've been wanting and then bam, you have an unexpected bill. Yeah. This is like how we subconsciously create set points for ourselves. And that is true both with tangible things, but also the intangible, such as peace, freedom. And so when we see that we're holding ourselves back from that, then we can just start, again, just poking holes into that belief, saying like, well, get specific. What would you like? What does that part of you believe would you need to do to be worthy of peace? Oh, there isn't anything specific. There's not any actual weight to that belief. Then we can start dismantling. And at the same time, working with like the somatic level, which is a body-based feeling. Like, where can you start feeling even just a little bit more peace in your body? Or maybe it's taking them back to a memory. Like, when do you remember actually feeling peace? Or is there a person or a pet or a place that instills the feeling of peace? And just taking a moment to like kind of go back to that memory and like feel it in your body and just start building up that muscle. For people that are not super tuned into the body, it is like a muscle. It takes practice being able to access these feelings, hold for this feeling for the feelings. But just like just like going to the gym. The first day is going to be a lot harder than your 100th day. And by a couple
Yeah.
of years in, it's going to be your automatic way of living.
You know what I think a great question to ask is, especially because I've really adopted the whole word of the year thing. I used to think it was nonsense, but now 2 years in, this is my third year of doing it and seeing how exactly powerful that is. And for me, how powerful that word of the year has been. But do you know what question I really love to ask myself? And I encourage others to ask every year, once a year, when you're setting these like intentions, whatever, is how do you define success? What is your definition of success? What does that look like? Because last year it was different. And this year it may look the same, it may look different. So start there. And then the other thing is The Mountain Is You. Have you read that? Brianna Weist. Oh my gosh. I would seriously recommend reading that every year. Every year. I think that is, if you want to get to the thing under the thing under the thing, like you're saying, it's like, where's the root of this? Where is this coming from? In deep in your subconscious, it started when you were 4, started when you were 8, started when you were 27. Where is it? Where is it coming from? Oh my gosh, that's the book to help dig into that dirt.
Yes. Oh, definitely recommend. Everyone listening should pick up a copy and read that. Even, it's not
Absolutely.
January 1st, but it's not too late. Like, it is
No.
profound. And
Yes, if you
I
haven't read
love
it yet.
what you said about defining success is one of my favorite things ever. And it was part of, for me, that was one of the biggest mindset shifts I had early on in my self-development journey, was when I realized that the achievement part of the perfectionist was very latched on to being successful. And it was like,
Mhm.
okay, when I
Quote
slowed it down,
unquote.
that's me. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was it was huge for me at that time to realize, like, oh, it doesn't even necessarily have a definition. And it wants it to be attached to things, but like, I know that's not true. I know that what I do is not equatable to my inherent worth and all of that. And when I realized like the success, like for me, success is not giving up, not, continuing to pick myself up when things don't work out. If as long as I keep trying, then there's no way to fail. And I guess like the other
Yeah.
side of it is failure. Like I redefined what failure meant. And so it's so important for everyone listening. Just take a moment to tune in. Like, what does it mean to be successful to me? What is true success? And I
Yep.
think
Call to
I'm gonna be
action. There's your
surprised.
challenge. It's true. And it changes. It changes every year, It's well, especially with women, we have seasons, we metamorphosize into billions of different butterflies in our lifetime. So it's what is success to me right now with the newborn is not the same as what is success to me when I'm 25. Right. So, hey, I found this, but I did not have time to look up any more about it. So if I'm already past, I'm so sorry. But what is the Radiant Living Workshop?
And this is a workshop I designed last year. I've run it a couple times, and it's all about feeling so empowered and capable, very similar to like what this conversation is. You see your goal, we set it up, but over that, it's about feeling empowered and capable of achieving it and of holding space for the big, beautiful, abundant life that you do know you want, but might be afraid of going for. So it's kind of like that inner energetics meets outer strategy, but it's really about tuning into your your uniqueness, your authenticity, your genuineness, so that when you are tuned in like that to what you're going for, you're aligned with your values, you're aligned with your goals, you're aligning your external life with who you want to be and who you are. Not just masking, but like, who are you? The most beautiful, unique, magical version of you, letting her out, leading with that energy every single day, every single step of the way along the way to your goal. And that's where the radiance comes in. I say it's not just a buzzword. Like, this is a lifestyle. It's a way of being. And it's an authentic way of being when you're truly tapped in to you.
I love that you said it's a lifestyle. That's absolutely, I have a hashtag, the revitalized lifestyle. It is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I got all of my members, every one of my members has a necklace that has a charm on it that it reminds them. I say, every time you look in the mirror, it reminds you, are you living the revitalized lifestyle? Are you living in the mindset, growth mindset and boundaries and saying yes to things and saying no to things and being unapologetic of having needs, like all of these amazing, wonderful things that will help you if you do them regularly, like going to the gym and working on your six pack. If you do it regularly, it will become natural. It will become your natural normal to be able to say no to people and not feel horrible about it, not feel guilty about it. It's like, yeah, you do it every day. That's what you do. That's life. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is who I am. Oh my gosh. Aha. Like one day you say no to somebody and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't feel guilty about that at all. It actually felt great.
Yeah.
That's the best feeling. So I love that. Yes, the lifestyle, it is a lifestyle. And that's full circle, brings us back to how we started with people feeling like they come into this, women feeling like they come into this and it's like a quick fix. It's going to be, I have a problem. I'm going to fix that problem. And it's like, well, you don't have a problem. You have a thing that's happening. And let's figure out why you think it's a bad thing, because maybe it's not even a bad thing.
It's just changing out one way of life for a new one.
Energy exchange. Okay, listen. If there is one piece of wisdom you hope every listener from this episode takes away from your coaching philosophy, what would that be?
I would say to look under the hood.
Yes.
Trusting yourself to go deeper. I think if you are used to seeing the surface level problems play out, what's beneath that? Because starting with that, just asking that question and being able to have just a little bit more compassion for all parts of you, including the ones that are trying to hold you back by trying to help you, it is life-changing. It is a completely different energy when you're working with all parts of you versus against. And it starts with just asking what's underneath the hood.
I love it. What's underneath the hood? I love that. That's adorable. So where can these listeners come and find you and learn more about you and reach out to you?
Yeah, come say hi to me over on Instagram, Brittni.Cosgrove, or you can check out my website, BrittniCosgrove.com. Brittany's a little unique. It's Brittni. But come say hi. I would love to hear the takeaways, the learnings, insights from this. This was just an amazing conversation, and I want to hear how it landed with everyone.
I want to know, where are you stuck? Where are you identifying as you're listening to us talk about these things? Where are you going, that's me? Like, reach out to us. We want to hear this. Let us know. Thank you so much, Brittany. And I really appreciate your time and sharing all of this with us here in the Revitalized Womanhood podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was so good. Thanks, everyone.
You bet.